What's up, everybody? This is your boy Chainsaw. Listen, I hope and I pray that you've got your big boy boots and your big girl boots on, because the Schmidt is about to get super deep here today. Listen, if you want to know what keeps me up at night, it's Schmidt like this, right? Literally, I was, close of the night, ready to, put it down, lay my cute, cuddly little head on my Hello Kitty pillow, and right before, I got to look on Twitter, got to look on social media, kind of, just catch up a little bit, see if there's anything that I might have missed. And boy, oh boy, not only was my feed overloaded with this stuff, but also my inbox, all of my inboxes. If I got a box, it was in with all of this. And I want to just jump right into this. This is the vast majority of this is user submitted. So I want to thank you to everyone who watches this program and who hits me up on social media, keeps me informed, better informed of what's going on out there than I'm doing for myself. So listen, for the hardworking folks at home, thank you very much for your submissions. But let's just jump right into it. So I want to start just a little recap about some of the stuff that we've been seeing on social media regarding the, and I know one viewer actually corrected me in this. It's Agape boarding school. I think I called it Agape one time. We discussed this on a live stream once and never touched it again. Good news stories have a beginning, middle, and end, but I feel like this one seems to be never ending. So let's take a look here. So we'll jump into the Twitter video first that I saw that first grabbed my attention, that we discussed on the live stream to catch folks up at home who maybe don't watch my live streams. Basically, you're going to be living with your head under a box, or a bag of fucking rocks if you haven't caught up with this already. But let's take a look. So this was sent in by Robert Buckland, staff member at Agape boarding school, kicking and dragging a young boy. This shows clear abuse by the staff at Agape and had tagged a whole host of good, hardworking folks here in the state of Missouri. But let's take a look here.
Anyways, I think your camper's up at the hotel. Yeah? You might be on a few minutes.
It's a baseball field. What the fuck? Kid drops to the floor. He's obviously kicking him in the ass, kicking him somewhere. What the actual fuck here, folks? These are children. You tell me. So I caught that at first. That was the first time I'd heard anything or seen anything about this school. Well, that I'd really looked into, right? And then I'll show you a couple more of these articles that were attention grabbers here. I'll go through the whole thing. I'll just run real quick through you. So this was a Springfield News Leader. This was, I guess this was published recently here. We've got a few older ones here, but this is the first one that popped up in the feed. Agape boarding school student files civil suit alleging sexual abuse at physician's home. What the fuck? All right. An Agape boarding school student and his mother have filed civil case against the Missouri physician, Dr. David Smock, and Agape boarding school. The student, who's a minor, and his mother, being represented by Craig Hosmer, a Springfield attorney, who's also a city council member. Smock, who's facing 15 charges of felony child sex crimes. God damn it already. Provided medical treatment for students at Agape boarding school in Stockton. I ran a clinic in the area as well. According to the court filing, the student was invited to Smock's home on numerous occasions in 2018, 2019, during which Smock not only touched the student's genitals, but also made the student watch as Smock touched the genitals of another student? Holy shit. This is this face. This is the Agape face. I'm Agape about this fucking article. Oh my God. The suit accuses Smock of battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent infliction of emotional distress, and childhood sexual abuse, and accuses Agape's boarding school of negligence. Fucking Jesus Christ. Dr. Smock was not an employee or representative of Agape. He was a doctor in Stockton that saw some of the boys who had medical needs, said John Schultz, the lawyer who represents Agape boarding school in response to a request for a statement. So fucking what, bro? Not a good, this guy's a bad attorney. I mean, if that's all you got, Jesus Christ. Holy shit. That's not a good defense. That is not looking good. We just hired the guy. We just paid the guy to come out here and, we wasn't an employee. He's 1099. Come out here and do it. He volunteered. He volunteered to come and molest our kids while we weren't fucking, Jesus Christ. Smock's also facing 3 charges in Greene County for allegations of sexual abuse during a trip to Springfield in 2018 with an Agape student. The other 12 charges are in Cedar County, where Stockton and Agape boarding school are located. Agape boarding school in Stockton is a Christian boarding school that turns around rebellious boys. It sounds to me like the doctor's turning folks out. Jesus Christ. Already. What the fuck? According to this website, and it's still open and enrolling students in its ministry of Agape Baptist Church and is a nonprofit, of course. It's the typical, it's fucking typical. The boarding school is facing at least 19 civil cases from former students. And then linked to another article, former Agape dean accused of transporting student from California against his will. We'll get into that here in just a bit. But holy shit, bro. Oh my God. Continuing. So this one, and that was from Springfield News Leader, the KSHB 41 Kansas City. They posted this article. Sounds like torture rooms attorney calls on A.G. Schmidt to close Agape boarding school. Now, I believe, and posted September 1st, 2022. I believe, and I could be wrong, so, feel free and leave me a comment if I'm wrong. I believe it was Elad Gross who initially submitted this one on Twitter, which is where I'd seen it there. Kansas City, Missouri, one day after the FBI announced the arrest of former Agape school dean, a civil rights attorney, among other community members, is calling on state leaders to intervene. More than 20 lawsuits have been filed against Agape. Students of the school claim they've been abused, some for years. Wednesday, the FBI announced the former dean, along with a mother, who were also arrested, handcuffed the woman's son and drove him from California to the boarding school. Holy fuck. Elad Gross, Missouri civil rights attorney, is adamant the school needs to be shut down. So very likely it was Elad who had posted this, so good on you, bro. That dude is one hard-working fucking dude, I'm just saying. We're talking physical abuse, we're talking rooms where essentially it sounds like torture rooms that were designed for God knows what, Gross said. Court records indicate a former doctor of the school is facing time in prison after being charged with several counts of abuse, including sodomy. 2025 staff members were charged with abusing children. Still in Missouri, the school is allowed to operate. Still in Missouri, the school is allowed to operate. Fucking let me highlight that for you. Still in Missouri, the school is allowed to operate. Attorney General Eric Pila Schmidt running for senator. Are you fucking listening, guy? Agape boarding school is still able to advertise. They're still bringing students in, Gross said. I don't understand how an institution like that is allowed to continue, especially given all the egregious things they were doing to children and preying on desperate families. In 2021, the Missouri legislature passed a law that gives people in higher office, like county prosecutors and the attorney general, authority to shut down residential care facilities. Fucking priorities, folks. Republican voters. Fucking priorities. The QAnon folks. The child sex slave fucking screamy, ranty fucking people protesting in goddamn West Plains, Missouri of all fucking places. Are you fucking listening? Gross said that includes religious boarding schools like Agape. Thus, he wants Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt to shut it down. That is the office that is empowered to close the school today, Gross said. Could file something today. The KSHB team reached out to Schmidt's office about the calls to shut down Agape, but a response was not received by the time the story was published. I can imagine that. And they won't get a response, is my prediction. be wrong. I fucking pray that I'm wrong. Jesus Christ. Additionally, the I-Team did not receive a comment from Agape boarding school in regard to the story. However, an automated message from the school intended for inquiring parents reads in part, if your son is out of control or perhaps he's struggling with emotional outbursts, peer influence, or substance abuse, Agape is here to help. Give your boy a strong future absent of all behavioral problems and negative influences he's experiencing today. Like getting shoot up the ass by the fucking crime doctor. Jesus Christ. I just, look, you know, you call it crude if you fucking want to. You can get all pissed off at me because I'm saying this shit, but holy shit. You pieces of fucking trash are about to vote for this asshole for Senate. You want him to kick it with the, you know, insurrectionist Josh Hawley up there in Washington, D.C. You know, make America fucking rapey again. One more time. Can we? Is that possible? So, the Kansas City Star also posted this article. That's a California teen was handcuffed, driven to Agape boarding school in Missouri. Former dean of Agape School has been indicted on charges his transport company took minor against his will in handcuffs from California to Southwest Missouri. Authorities arrested Julio Sandoval on Wednesday, according to federal court documents. The indictment was unsealed Tuesday and details charges against Sandoval and Shana, whatever, Gaviola, the mother of the boy, who was taken to Agape last summer. Sandoval 41, Gaviola 35 are charged with violating a protective order that was issued at the request of Gaviola's son in July 2021. A news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for Eastern District, California said, the order prohibited Gaviola from harassing, striking, threatening, assaulting, hitting, following, stalking, molesting, disturbing the peace, keeping under surveillance, and blocking the movements of her son, the release said, and contacting him in any way, including directly or indirectly, and from denying his use and possession of his phone. That's kidnapping, bro. Court documents say that Gaviola's son started living apart from her in 2020. He requested emancipation from Gaviola and obtained a domestic violence protection order against her from Fresno County Superior Court. The restraining order advised defendant Gaviola that she could be charged with a federal crime if she made the protected person travel out of state with the intention of disobeying the order. Words have meaning, the indictment said. Despite the restraining order, Gaviola learned where her son would be on August 21st, 2021, and relayed the information to the transport company, according to the indictment. She also supplied members of the transport agency with a falsified court document for the purpose of coercing the boy. Holy shit. She also supplied the members of the transport agency with a falsified court document for the purpose of coercing the boy to travel to Missouri and to convince members of the transport agency they were authorized to physically secure and transport the boy to the boarding school in Missouri. Holy fuck, that's so much. That is so much fraud. That's a lot of fraud. That's a lot of fraud and kidnapping, folks. That morning, two employees with Sandoval's transport company, Safe Sound and Secure Ministries, gross, located the teen, authorities said. On August 21st, 2021, individuals acting on behalf of Gaviola and Sandoval found the minor at a business in Fresno, handcuffed him, forced him into the car. The release said he remained in handcuffs for over 24 hours while they drove to Stockton, Missouri. He was then held at the boarding school until his father was able to free him. Court records show that law enforcement officers called Sandoval while his employees were driving the boy to Missouri. The officers notified Sandoval and the two transporting the teen that the boy had an active restraining order against Gaviola, his mother. Nevertheless, defendants Sandoval and Gaviola continued to cause and direct the members of the transport agency to drive the boy from California to Missouri. Oh shit, that's not going to be so great. All parties involved, the indictment said. After approximately 8 hours of detention, the boarding school released the boy to the custody of the father. The felony charges against Sandoval and Gaviola carry a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine. Star has written extensively about Sandoval, who began working at Agape in 2010 and then rose through the ranks to become Dean of Students. He's also worked at times with Cedar County Sheriff's Office inside the jail. Because that's... and it's all starting to make sense now. His son has also worked at the jail. Sandoval left Agape last fall in the weeks after 5 staff members were charged with abusing students. He became an officer at Lighthouse Christian Academy in Piedmont, a town of about 1,900 in the remote Ozark foothills of southeast Missouri. Hello. Operated by ABM Ministries, Lighthouse is one of the more than a dozen unlicensed boarding schools in Missouri where such facilities have come under intense scrutiny after abuse allegations at Cedar County's Circle of Hope Girls Ranch revealed in 2020. An investigation by the Star found that problems at unlicensed religious schools existed across the state. Just ask a local, my God. Records obtained by the Star show that Lighthouse is one of at least two that have yet to fully comply with the new state-required law requiring unlicensed boarding schools to register with the Missouri Department of Social Services. Schools were required to notify the state of their existence by October 14, 2021, submit to health and safety inspections, and conduct background checks on all employees. So of the lightweight, virtually non-existent laws that they actually have on the books, they're just not following them. They just don't give a shit. What are you going to do? What are you going to do, Attorney General Eric Schmidt? Fucking nothing. What are you going to do, Governor Mike Parson? Fucking nothing. I think we already covered what Mike Parson, what role he's had to play in the state of Missouri kidnapping folks' kids a dozen or so fucking times since last summer. I've spoken, countless times in that regard, but that's neither here nor there. Jesus Christ. Wow. The Star spoke to Sandoval earlier this month regarding a lawsuit filed by a former student from Arizona who said Sandoval was one of the school's employees who abused him. In that suit, filed July 5th in Cedar County Circuit Court, the plaintiff, referred to as TD of Arizona, accused Sandoval of repeated emotional and physical abuse. In some instances, the lawsuit alleged Sandoval would use TD to demonstrate wrestling moves by putting him in a headlock position, choking him, and throwing him against the walls. During one of many incidents, Julio Sandoval pushed plaintiff's head against the wall and ordered him to do push-ups as punishment. Fuck me. The suit also said that many times in the workout room, Julio Sandoval would aggressively push students, including the plaintiff, and continually intimidate students to fight him until students agreed. In those instances, plaintiff was repeatedly punched and hit until he was on the ground. When contacted by the Star, Sandoval declined to discuss the lawsuit. Fuck, can you blame the guy? What the fuck's he gonna say? Jesus Christ. No, ma'am, I wasn't aware of that one, and I don't have a comment, he said. Thank you, I do appreciate your time, though. I guess that's what he's gonna say. No one answered a call to Lighthouse on Wednesday. Instead, the call went to voicemail and a recording of Sandoval saying, "Thank you for reaching out. This is Julio. I can't get to the phone right now. God bless you. Enjoy the balance of your day." Creepy motherfucker. Agape has used Sandoval's transport company and others to pick up kids, sometimes in the middle of the night, and deliver them to the Stockton school. Yeah, that's not creepy at all. Sandoval incorporated his transport company in June 2020 as a nonprofit with a Stockton address. State corporation documents show, and on January 12th, he registered it with a slightly different name. Safe, Sound, Secure Transport Agency, using the address of Lighthouse Christian Academy on the paperwork. So that's there's so fucking much to unpack there. So his company, his travel company, and they told him, "Hey, look, it's got a restraining order." Why would he give a shit? Why would he give a fuck? I mean, he's not even registered the way. They're not even doing the legal implications that they're supposed to operate that business in the first fucking place here in the state of Missouri. Why would he give a shit if he's, basically just kidnapping children and whatnot? Well, I guess you're gonna fuck around and find out why you should give a shit there, bro. Holy shit, that's amazing. All right, so speaking of which, we got a couple of Twitter videos that I pulled from Twitter that I want to share with you. This first one comes at from Talk Troubled. This is this in here. All right, so TW 1 minute of testimony for Missouri HB 557 /560 on the child abuse at Agape boarding school in Stockton. At Colton Schrag was Agape's golden boy until he came forward exposing them. Multiple staff charged with abuse, yet are still working on campus. We need you to help save the boys. So we'll hear firsthand what these folks had to say regarding the operations there at Agape boarding school.
I attended Agape boarding school 2006 to 2010. April 20th, 2007, approximately about 11:30 at night, me and 3 other boys were drug out of the dorm and dumped by 4 staff members in the hallway, talking about taking over the school. It never happened. It didn't happen. But I didn't get restrained properly at all. I was punched in the face several times and kicked in the ribs.
As if that's not fucking bad enough. Wait for it.
A few months later, we had a kid attempt to hang himself in the bunk beds, tied his shoelaces and a bathrobe around his neck, knowing that in the morning when he didn't get out of bed, staff members going to walk through and dump his mattress, causing him to hang. And that's exactly what happened. I watched that man hang. And instead of getting him counseling, he was restrained for it. He never saw medical help or anything. I can go on and on.
Go on and on. You gotta be fucking shitting me. Give yourself a second. Give yourself a second. Rewind that clip. Play it out. Hear it again. Hear it a second time. Hear it a third time. That's worth your time. And what sort of response do we get? What can we expect can be done about something like this? Well, believe it or not, I found this on Twitter. This is from a user that is new to me, and I'm guessing is new to the Twitter, or at least fairly new. So Nurses for Trudy Bush Valentine, Nurses for at Nurses for TBV on Twitter, if you want to follow, had posted this, or tweeted this rather, tweet after tweet by at Eric Schmidt on how he's tackling human trafficking, but nothing but political theater. He knowingly left children to be trafficked and abused here in Missouri at the Agape boarding school. It's fucking, well, right now at the time of filming, it's September 3rd, 2022. I discussed this, I believe it was when I did my COVID test a few months ago. I did a live stream, COVID test live when Angie ended up getting COVID, and I ended up taking the COVID test because, fuck, you never know. And well, I believe that was when we discussed this. This was way before, any organ removal or any sort of hospital stays for myself. It's like a fucking lifetime ago that I'd even taken the time to discuss this after it had been in the news cycles, at least here locally in Missouri, quite a bit. And here we are, September 3rd. And this is what we get to look forward to. Let's take a look. So Eric Schmidt tweets out, "It's time to secure the border, stop human trafficking, and defeat the drug cartels." That was August 24th. August 16th. "Thanks to Biden and the Dems' open border policies, crime and human trafficking and deadly fentanyl are flooding across our border. Trudy Bush Valentine will be another reliable vote for Biden's failed policies. I'm proud to support so many Americans who want to save America." This was, again, published by Nurses for TBV. The fucking person that he's like, eh. Meanwhile, he's like, eh. Out of your fucking mind, bro. Biden's open southern border means more lawlessness, human trafficking, and fentanyl on our communities. The left knows this. Can't defend Biden, so they seek to malign America First conservatives who speak the truth. Who the fuck are you speaking to about this, guy? Every state's a border state now. The drugs, the human trafficking, and the criminals that come across illegally impact us all. They fucking pulled a kid from California, a border state. It's like a couple border states away from that one that you were having a fucking parade at. What was it? Was that a few months ago? Also at this, around the same time, this piece of Schmidt, this piece of Schmidt was down there in Texas while, the stories were coming out about this Agape boarding school. I wasn't even talking about this shit then. I'm not the fucking attorney general. I don't have a bus. I got these fucking lights. I get this fucking TV. I got these cute little fucking fancy things in front of me. I don't have the constituents. I don't have a boss. I don't have obligations. I gotta fucking pet that needs food and potty and, you know, shit. What are you doing, guy? Come on. Where you been? Boy, I could just continue with that one. Joe Biden created a border crisis, more drugs, more criminals, more human trafficking, a total disaster, which is why we filed the lawsuit titled 42. And again, it's human trafficking. They kidnapped a kid from California. That's a border state. They kidnapped a kid from California, brought him here. You don't do dick. Been doing everything you can to avoid this. Because they align with your bullshit Christo fascist values. This is what happens when the Jerry Falwell crowd is allowed to cover for the Jerry Falwell crowd. I'm just saying. Jimmy Swaggart, we're talking about you. Every state is a border state. Fentanyl, human trafficking, it's all coming across the open border. Joe Biden, blah, blah, blah. Where was this at? Lost my fucking place here. This morning, I joined other AGs and Texas law enforcement to see firsthand the challenges they face in stopping illegal immigration and drug trafficking being run by the cartels along the Rio Grande. Bro, you got human trafficking cartels right here in the state of Missouri, like right fucking here in the state of Missouri. What the fuck you mean, bro? And it goes on like this. I mean, dig through his shit. It's Nurses for TBV already did this for you. But I mean, this is all happening right here. Human trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking at our southern border, human trafficking, illegal human trafficking. I'm going all the way back to April here. Jesus Christ, this is a fucking minute and 7-second long video. March 21st, Operation Who Gives a Fuck? Biden Border Crisis, Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Missouri State Highway Patrol and Schmidt's Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force need to get off their fucking asses and do a goddamn anything about this fucking shit. Are you kidding me, bro? Oh my God. Yeah, I don't use scripts anymore. Sorry, folks. Wow. That's, human trafficking. Jesus Christ. Well, this literally will go on forever. That's amazing. We're all the way back at look, that's looking like last year, maybe. No fucking way. No fucking way. That's some serious shit. Anyhow, so there's that. And then the piece de resistance, which is what initially grabbed my attention, toward disco, and again, pulled me out of the throes of nap time, because y'all love how I love to do that shit. You caught me last week about this time, literally, with the cucumbers over my eyes. So the Kansas City Star had posted this article today or yesterday or whatever, just a few hours ago. I guess it's 11:23 Central Time. So today for you, in my office, it's tomorrow. So yesterday. Kansas City Star reports literally kidnapping is the quote. Teens taken against their will to boarding schools across the U.S. Julius Sandoval tells parents he wants to help their wayward sons get on the right path. He assures them through the website for his transport business that he will deliver their children safely to a boarding school. So parents hire Sandoval's company, Safe, Sound, Secure Youth Ministries, remove their so-called troubled teens from their homes and transport them to schools. Sandoval's also former dean of schools at Agape boarding school and current leader of another unlicensed facility, both in Missouri. His goal with his transport company is to be a blessing at your home, and Sandoval shares with parents the philosophy he says he uses with his own 7 children. I don't care if you like me. I'm not raising you for me to like me. What? I'm raising you for me to like you. What the fuck? Okay. Now Sandoval, 41, awaits his next court appearance, arrested this week after a federal grand jury indicted him for violating a restraining order issued at the request of a minor boy against his mother. So with regard to that same arrest, State Representative Carrie Engel from Lee's Summit, Democrat, of course, says that's literally kidnapping. Chainsaw agrees. who initiated hearings in Jefferson City on boarding schools and co-sponsored legislation that now regulates them. I'd be incredibly traumatized by being taken from my home in the middle of the night and handcuffed and threatened and all of that, and then jetted states away. That's absolutely crazy. That's the stuff of movies. It's unbelievable. And I would have said the exact same thing with a few more, well, at least one colorful word as a prefix or a suffix. Yes, it's been going on in Missouri and throughout the nation for decades, causing what students describe as extreme trauma that stays with them into adulthood. You've got the dean of students that's running a transport service. Amy Groves, a former student at 2 unlicensed girls' boarding schools in Missouri, told the Star last year, these people are paid to kidnap children and traumatize them. Sandoval pleaded not guilty on Wednesday in California federal court via video conference and was released on a personal reconnaissance bond. His next court date is scheduled for October 5th. We will definitely be watching that shit. Agape issued a statement through its attorney, John Schultz, regarding Sandoval's indictment. Agape does not own, control, or operate any transport service, nor does Agape sponsor or endorse any transport service, it said. Agape was unaware of the California protective order, but as soon as Agape learned of its discussions were had with the boy's father to have him picked up from Agape. The boy was at Agape for 7 days and then turned over to his father when he arrived. At this point in the video, does anybody fucking believe that at all? Anybody? Let me know in the comments. My God. Sandoval was Agape's dean of students when he incorporated his transport company in June 2020 as a nonprofit with a Stockton, Missouri address. The state corporation documents show Agape is located in Stockton. At January 20th, Sandoval registered his company under a slightly different name, Safe Sound Secure Transport Agency, using the address of Lighthouse Christian Academy. That boarding school is in Piedmont. We discussed that's in the backyard here. Sandoval's company has employed 2 off-duty Cedar County Sheriff's deputies to help pick up youth from across the country. One of those deputies, Robert Graves, has worked at Agape and is a son-in-law of its late founder, James Clemenson. I think we've discussed all well and do about off-duty county deputy sheriffs and what it is that they like to do in their fucking free time. When it comes to the kids and when it comes to schools and rec and, oh my God, I think we discussed that quite a bit on just this show. Gross. Fucking gross. It's a fucking grift, folks. It's a fucking grift. Horror stories. And keep in mind, they're nonprofits. So that means you're paying for this shit, whether you want to or not. Thank you very much, Republican Party of Missouri. Representative Roden, we've discussed that. We heard from his own fucking mouth, arguing with St. Pete Meredith with that regard. Jesus Christ, you think I watch my own fucking show, you know what I'm saying? Hey. Horror stories about transports surfaced several times last year in testimony that former students submitted to Missouri lawmakers as they considered measures to give the state some oversight over unlicensed boarding schools. Students represented several schools, not just in the Show Me State. When I was 13 years old, I was picked up out of my bed in the middle of the night by strangers who threatened me with mechanical restraints if I resisted. Hannah Kilfoyle wrote in her February 2021 testimony, I didn't know why or where I was going. My parents were instructed to ignore my pleas for help. For fuck's sake. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to be able to get that fucking thought out of my fucking head. The California girl, then weighing just 65 pounds, was whisked away to the Florida Panhandle. She told the Star, I honestly thought I'd gotten involved with terrorists, and that's why this was happening. Hey, all you Ron DeSantis people. Yeah, I'm fucking talking to you. Fucking schmucks. Parents can pay hundreds and up to thousands of dollars to have their children picked up by transport companies and delivered to boarding schools. I mean, I'm just saying, what's your fucking governor doing about that shit either? You know what I mean? And you want this piece of shit to be fucking president? Oh my God, stop it. Ingalls said several former students shared with her their transport company stories and how the experiences still affect them today. She questions the legality of such methods. That opens things up to trafficking, false imprisonment, kidnapping, all those things. Yeah, because like if I just show up and kidnap your kid or some shit, how are they supposed to fucking know that, you know, I'm not just some creepy beardy guy and not the fucking security guys who are also fucking super creepy and going to take you someplace where you're going to get molested by a doctor? What the fuck, bro? I'm not even gonna be able to make it through this goddamn segment. Are you shitting me right now? It's horrifying, and if these kids are if these are kids with alleged behavioral problems or histories of trauma, this is just going to exacerbate that. I wholeheartedly agree. Donald Short was asleep in a Chicago area bedroom in October 1999 when two men woke him up around 2 a.m. Unbeknownst to him, his mom had secretly packed his things. These guys came in my room in plain clothes. Short told the Star, they handcuffed me with real handcuffs and threatened me with a taser. I got into survivor mode. You goddamn right he did. Told him I had to go to the bathroom. They made me leave the door open and watched me. I got a story for you, folks. Soon he was in a car and on his way to Stockton, Missouri. Short doesn't know who the men worked for, but it wasn't Sandoval's company because he was transported about 10 years before Sandoval started at Agape. I was cornered in my bedroom. It was a shocking thing. Short said, I remember that day like yesterday. My sister had warned me about it, but I didn't believe her because my mom always threatened me with boarding school. Student after student recounted similar scenes in vivid detail, middle of the night, scared, unsure of where they were going, not knowing when they would be able to come home again. During an investigation into Missouri's unlicensed Christian boarding school, the Star interviewed more than 70 former Agape students. At least a dozen said the transport itself left them traumatized and unable to trust people. You know, I can relate to that on a completely different level. So when I was 17 years old, this was back in 2003, and I don't usually tell this story. I mean, I tell the story. Some folks, see, my history, my past, where I came from. But I don't usually make this. Well, I've ever made this fucking story goddamn public. So, but my best way I could put this, my stepdad, he was he was kind of a real badass. I'm not gonna lie, and he had what would very much in the state of Colorado and the state of Michigan and the state of California today be a very legal and lucrative fucking business. But see, in good old fucking middle of shitballs, Missouri, back in 2003, in southern Missouri, in small town southern Missouri of 2,000 people, surrounded by other communities of 2,000 people, what he did is very much considered a felony. Several felonies, several pounds of big green fucking felonies per week. It wasn't hurting nobody. In fact, he was providing a community service. He said so himself back then. And quite honestly, 20 fucking years later, yeah, the guy just wanted to fucking smoke weed and provide for not just his family, but for other fucking people. And he very goddamn well did. He provided for us. He kept us from living in absolute fucking poverty in a community like that. And he also provided a public service to other families and also did many, many charitable things to other families who were also struggling, that he was associated with. And one night, this is back in my my rock and roll punk rock days, right? I just so happened to be out at a gig. I think we were in Springfield, right? Because believe it or not, most folks may not even know I'm fucking from here. Born and raised in South Central Missouri, in the middle of fucking nowhere. But that's beside the point. Anyway, so I'm out. I come back, after the show, and can't help but notice that all the lights are out. Like all the lights are out, like all the fucking lights are out. Now, typically, they would leave, my parents, they would leave the living room light on. You come in, especially after a show. They knew it was a big deal for me. I'm like 17 years old, right? It's a big deal. And yeah, I went in and I noticed that the front gate to the property, steel gate, that the post was fucking knocked over. So like it used to lean like this, it's fucking leaning like this. The gate's like hanging off of the shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It literally looks like the apocalypse happened to my family home, to the house that I grew up in. I get there and the door's locked, so I unlock the door. That was also different, And I'm looking around and I see all the lights are off. All the lights are off. It's total darkness. And I hear a voice from the corner of the room, and it's my mother. She's sitting there in a chair. And she's like, come in. And she explains to me that the DEA was there. That they basically had kicked in the fucking door, held my father down at gunpoint. And then while my mother was out at her job, she came home with her coworker and these like 163,000 fucking ninjas that were just littering our property held my mother down at gunpoint. At some point she had she's a smoker. It's fucking back in the day. She went to get a cigarette out of her mouth and throw it out. Cop fucking holds a gun to her head. Starts screaming at her not to fucking move and all this shit. And you know what it stemmed from? I'll tell you what it stemmed from. He gave one, count them with me, one, für mein deutsche Volk, eins, einziger eins, einziger eins, one marijuana cigarette to a fucking narc, to some scuzzy fucking person with a different kind of problem, who literally was addicted to horrible shit that is very much still illegal in all states to this day. I think maybe Oregon. And that person turned him over to the feds. And he went to court. And he served prison time for giving one marijuana cigarette to a narc. And they wasted all that money and all those man hours and all that manpower and put all of those people at risk. These fucking pieces of shit fucking threatened my goddamn 40-pound fucking Labrador mixed dog who was like 170 years old at the time. Talking about, I'll put a bullet in your fucking head, you can fucking growl at me. So, yeah, all right, I'm getting a little off subject here. So anyway, when they came back, because, the fucking bail, right? That's some crazy shit. His lawyer was Agape about this shit, and when the time came for them to come and serve him the paperwork and whatnot, they came in, and I had woken up to a police officer standing in my bedroom door, ordering me to get up, and I'm not wearing fucking pants. Folks who know me, who watch this show, you don't even know if I'm wearing pants right now. I'm actually wearing shorts, but that's none of your fucking business. But again, 17 years old, not wearing fucking pants. Get up. Hey, you mind? I fucking gotta put some pants on here. I'll show you off my fucking minor. Nope. They're gonna stand there. They're gonna look at your dick. It's what they do. It's what they're paid for. That's what they make the big bucks for. That's why they get to carry the guns. And, yeah, so I can relate. I am whatever age I am right now. It's spelled OLD, and I can relate because I still can tell you this story right now and remember it like it fucking happened yesterday. Most of it. And it was a long goddamn time ago. So there's that. So yeah, I can totally fucking relate. You want to talk about trauma? I got you. I fucking got you. They are going into, these aren't even those cops, every single fucking one of them who, like they all should have quit their job before they even decided that was a thing that they ever wanted to do on those particular days. These aren't even cops. These are former cops or off-duty sheriff's deputies or some shit. And we've talked about what some of those guys are doing in their fun free time. Just going in and kidnapping kids on behalf of Jesus Christ and you know, all of this shit. It's unfucking fathomable, folks. Take it for what it is. But by God, I'm going to finish this article if it fucking kills you. 5 former students of boarding schools Agape and other locations submitted testimony to Missouri legislators that detailed their experience with transport companies. David Patterson ended up at Agape on Father's Day 2002. I was police escorted there by off-duty cops, he said in a written testimony to the House Children and Families Committee last year, waking me up at 4:30 in the morning, telling me we can do this the easy way or the hard way, while showing me a pair of handcuffs. They picked out my clothes, made me wear a belt backwards in case they needed to handcuff me to myself, and made me wear a transport boot, a shoe you would get if you had a broken foot, and a cast to walk in. The boot, he said, would keep him from running away. Upon arriving in Agape, I was strip searched naked in a room full of grown men, never seen before, and then was taken to get my head shaved, he said. I would be restrained multiple times for not conforming and submitting to the school's strange and oftentimes peculiar interpretations of the Bible under his eye. I think we all know how that works here in the state of Missouri. 4 years later, on the day after Christmas, Colton Scragg was sent to Agape for a second time from his parents' home in New Mexico. He was 14 years old. Two dudes woke me up at like 4 in the morning. He told the Star, zip-tied me and escorted me out like I was a hardened criminal. Gabe Miller arrived from St. Louis after a drive with 2 men from a transport company who entered the 15-year-old's bedroom at 6 a.m. on Labor Day 2017. He quickly discovered that his grandparents had already packed his bag. They pulled out handcuffs, handcuffed me with my hands behind my back, Miller told the Star. They said, if you act up, we can shackle your legs. I didn't even get to say goodbye to my grandparents. One state takes a stand. One northwestern state decided that something had to be done. Oregon. Oh, fucking imagine that. Jesus Christ. Oregon lawmakers passed a bill that went into full effect earlier this year to strictly regulate transport companies. It was the first state to adopt such legislation. It requires law companies that provide secure transport services for the purpose of placing a child in a residential program to be licensed as a child-carrying agency in the state. Companies also must comply with other requirements such as such agency. That includes being incorporated, obeying the state's restraint and seclusion policies. All prone, supine, and mechanical restraints, including hoods, blindfolds, handcuffs, are prohibited. So is the infliction of pain and ridiculing of youth. Like being humane and shit, not being a complete piece of shit because God told you to. That'd be too much like right. But apparently not in Oregon. They're not putting up with your bullshit. Speaking of which, Eric Schmidt, you paying attention, bro? The transport experience is so shocking and horrifying because it's associated with your home, safe place. Said Oregon State Senator Sarah Gelser-Bluin, a Democrat who sponsored the legislation. And so your ability to trust, I trust. How do I know that I'm safe? I can't be safe at home. People that are supposed to protect me are watching this happen to me. You can't get over that. It's trauma on so many levels. I can attest. Again, I don't do fucking door knocks. You knock on my door, you fucking better prepare for a goddamn fight. Whether I like it or not, it's instinctual. And again, I'm OLD, folks. Some of that shit just never leaves you. PTSD. Google it one time. Sandoval's company is accused of doing handcuffing the Fresno teen and driving him to Agape would 100% be illegal in Oregon for a whole bunch of reasons. Gelser-Bluin said, I think what's interesting about the case, though, is the way that these places make their activities legal, she said. The contracts that the parents sign with the company give them the rights to basically abuse their children. And what made this illegal with this kid, and that's what's frustrating, is it wasn't really the transport, it was the restraining order. Mom didn't have the authority to delegate the transport, Gelser-Bluin said. She argues that the transport itself is wrong. You're taking kids and you're moving them voluntarily across state lines for profit. What happened to that kid was and should be illegal. It's assault, it's abuse, it's imprisonment. What's absurd is that the only reason it was a crime was because his mom signed the papers. Dad had signed transport papers. Gelser-Bluin said the exact same thing would have happened to the boy and it wouldn't have been a crime. As for Agape, Gelser-Bluin said she's familiar with this school and allegations of abuse. I don't know that there's anything that hasn't heard about Agape, she said, anybody that hasn't heard about Agape, I believe that there's a national embarrassment to the state of Missouri. Oh, you got a fucking couple of them over here. There's no reason that it should be open. It's demonstrable. It's a demonstration. It's fucking demonstrable, but they said it's a demonstration of corrupt politics, and I agree with that as well. It clearly shows a disregard for the well-being of children. The evidence couldn't be more clear. While working on her bill, Gelser-Bluin spoke extensively to former boarding school students, including Brett Harper, an Oregon resident who attended Agape from 1999 to 2003 last year. Harper told the Oregon Senate Committee on Human Services, Mental Health, and Recovery, which Gelser-Bluin chairs, about his experience being transported to the Southwest Missouri boarding school. He explained how one day his adoptive dad drove him home. His dad just gotten off work and parole and probation office in Oregon. We got inside, and all of a sudden, two men came out the bathroom and showed me their badges. He said they said they were here to take me to a boarding school, and then I could go the easy way or the hard way. Seems like their fucking go-to. These folks are all reading from the same book here. They informed me they were hired by my dad. The men told Harper that they typically didn't allow parents to be present during the pickup, but because my dad is in law enforcement, they felt it would be okay. At the time, Harper said he chose the easy way and allowed them to cuff me and put me in the van with my dad. He said his dad apologized and told him that he was going to boarding school that would help me get my attitude right and get right with God. Fuck me. The transport itself, although not overly violent, is traumatic enough, where I still have night terrors to this day at age 35, and this was 21 years ago. Bro, I can fucking wholeheartedly feel you, bro. Harper testified most people who are transported to residential treatment facilities, boarding schools, wilderness camps have night terrors, and some for the rest of their lives. I've spoken with survivors that have had night terrors about being transported 30 years later. Tamira Lital, a mental health professional who's taken to a boarding school by transporters when she was a teen, also testified in support of the legislation. She thought that shit was so fucking serious, she made a fucking career out of it. Jesus Christ. Good for you, bro. We're talking about the act known as teen transport, Lital said. It's not transport, it's licensed kidnapping. I say that as a therapist and as a survivor. Imagine being torn from your own bed, mostly naked, by strangers of the opposite sex. For many years, I slept with my bed in front of my door. Fuck yeah. I slept with a knife. Fuck yeah. Under my pillow, I slept in my clothes, ready to run, live on the streets, rather than suffer through this again. Teen transport almost destroyed my life. By banning it, you could protect children from Oregon from similar experiences. In the end, Gelser-Bluin said she hopes other states do what Oregon did and pass meaningful legislation to regulate transport companies and stop the abuse that youth endure. I think it should be illegal, period, Gelser-Bluin said. I don't see any world in which this is appropriate. Not do that to adults. I mean, they sort of do, depending on the circumstances. But either way, though, that's a really good fucking point that was made there. Is that in these cases, it's something that they do have to endure the rest of their lives. And basically, what the state of Oregon is trying to do is they're of course trying to protect their kids from something like this happening there, but they're trying to protect their children from the state of Missouri. Let that soak around a little bit. Oregon state government is essentially trying to protect the children of Oregon from the state of Missouri. And from other states like Missouri. I think the absolute best part was the mentioning that the going to the boarding school would help this kid get his attitude right and get right with God. Keep in mind, these folks are doing this at the behest of Jesus Christ, their Lord and Savior. The entire purpose is to get them, they're doing it with the best of intentions, but really it's from a culture and from a culture perspective of pain, suffering, guilt, and suffering and guilt. This is the Jerry Falwell crowd. This is what happens when Christo fascists are allowed to run rampant. And keeping in mind that, especially when you come across Republican representatives or office holders who will mention things about, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, the Lauren Boeberts of the world, the Eric Schmidts of the world, Mike Parsons of the world, who talk about God and who talk about people's fundamental rights and their freedom to practice and whatnot. this is what they're looking for. This is what they're talking about. Specifically, it's shocking. And to be quite honest, this is the messaging, and not that anyone actually running for office is going to take me seriously, but this is the sort of messaging that is going to resonate with voters, particularly with voters who, honestly, voters with either side. Whenever you run on a anti-Christian, anti-Christo fascist, say campaign platform, what the other side is hearing that you hate Christians. Because they don't know about this. This is the kind of shit that they need to know about. The people, I know fucking people who have their children in Christian fucking private schools and shit. They don't know about this. They're not reading about this. And they're not going to. They're not going to find this out for themselves. You see this article, they skip it. You've got to put this shit in their face. You've got to make people like Attorney General Eric Schmidt accountable. You've got to force him to answer for himself. You've got to force Mike Parson to answer for himself. They're not going to just voluntarily do a goddamn thing. And, thank goodness for the Kansas City Star for really, pushing on this issue. And churning out so many great articles with that regard. I think that, honestly, I've been slipping. And it's things like this that make me want to slip a little bit less. I honestly did not think that I would be quite so affected whenever I first read this as I was actually reading it and going through it with you. So thank you to everyone who's stuck around for this far into this literally one segment to talk about this one issue. But this is something that a lot of folks need to know about. I mean, it's one thing to talk about a school abusing people. It's another thing to talk about an entire system, an entire systemic problem. I mean, this involves the Christo fascists. This involves law enforcement. This involves school system, public funding for schools, funding for public schools versus funding for these kind of bullshit schools. There's so much here. There's so much here. But anyway, that's if I weren't already tired, I'd be ready to go for the fuck. I might be scooting my fucking bed against the door by the end of this night. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.